Liz, thank you. It's almost a dizzying array of recommendations and activities. Any one of those projects by itself is a large and complex project. We have a few minutes for questions, so people who want to ask a question, please come to a microphone. But let me just start by first asking you if you could, maybe from your vantage point now on the NCAB, if you could talk a little bit further about how you now see the implementation unfolding. And how is it going to be? Is there going to be some continuing overarching management? Is each project going to stand on its own bottom? What can you say about how the funds will actually be deployed now that they're becoming available?
Yeah, this is the key question. So I think this was all a lot of work, but I think the work is just beginning with implementation. The NCI has started to look into new mechanisms that are more flexible, that aren't the standard mechanisms. There are a couple of mechanisms within government because they are overseen by government rules, so they're hoping to utilize these more flexible mechanisms. But I suspect that there's going to be lots of opportunity for all of us to input as well as the NCAB, and I really encourage input on this implementation. I believe that the NCI, although are forming internal groups, they're going to look to the community to provide expertise on this, but they haven't really spoken more about this implementation other than what I've shown you so far, bringing other sectors of government and industry together to help with this.
Other questions?
Mary Tobin, Alliance for Clinical Research Excellence and Safety. The policy issues, how do you see that going forward? Who's going to handle it? Will Vice President Biden and Greg Simon go forward with that part of it? How's it going to be delegated?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think it's still up in the air. I don't think Vice President Biden has really told us yet how he's going to be involved once he leaves office. And I think that's going to be a critical question. And I do worry about that as well.
And is it going to be part of the 21st Century Cures? Or
aspects of it are, in particular drug development aspects, FDA aspects are involved. And already there's been some changes at the FDA in organization, and I believe those will continue to go forward unless, again, there'll be a new HHS director and others. So I think there are a lot of questions, and I don't have those answers, unfortunately.
I remember hearing, I'm sure he said this on more than one occasion, Greg Simon make a comment about how the moonshot was really about the community, that he was always impressed by the fact that the brightness of the moon was dependent upon the reflection from the sun, and that therefore we all have a role to play in achieving the goals and the vision of the moonshot. And I think that's actually has to be true, because the only way that all of these activities can be effectively implemented and be successful is for the entire cancer community to play a role. And everybody in this room represents an organization that can contribute in that. What's a little bit unclear, and hopefully will become more clear, is how do we get involved? How do we bring our ideas forward? I think many organizations represented here either are doing projects that already align with some of these ideas, or could do projects that could help implement some of the goals of the moonshot. But do you have a sense yet? Is it going to be, are we going to have to be writing grants to do this, or are we going to, what will be the mechanism if, some individual or entity has an idea for a project that aligns with any of these goals? How does it move forward?
Great question. So what I'm hearing, and again, it's just at the level of the NCAB, are that it's going to be more cooperative type efforts moving forward. Hopefully it's going to be multi-investigator, multi-institutional, bringing in industry, bringing in government. So I think they're going to be somewhat managed. I don't think this is going to be a typical RO1 or PO1 type mechanism. And again, it's going to depend on the NCI moving forward and getting through. And it turns out Congress has to approve use of some of these mechanisms to be able to move forward with a more nimble, more flexible approach.
All right, well, Liz, thank you so much for your leadership on this, and enjoyed the White House signing today, and we'll all be looking forward to seeing how this continues to unfold. So I think I'm now going to turn the podium over to Becky Pence, who will chair the next session.